everyone, good evening. I warmly welcome all of you all for the webinar organized by the Kandy chapter of CIPM, which is titled as, Are you ready to optimize your hybrid work environment? So this is the need of the hour. And to start the proceedings, we will go through the CIPM corporate video. Before that, as you all know, CIPM has 62 years of history, started by a parliamentary act. We have 4 branches, mainly Colombo, the head office, Kandy, Gore, and Kurunegala. We have a student base of 7,000 and a member base of 1,200. So you could get further details on our corporate video. So after that, after the corporate video, I will introduce the participants and the the resource person and the moderator. Then we will move on to the subject matter. So let us now, till the others join, let us watch the corporate video.
The story of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management spans over 60 years and is a tale of trials, tribulations, and triumphs. From its humble beginnings in 1959 by a group of professionals who envisaged the power of people profession in the local and global context and who refused to be told what to do and what cannot be done. Today, those seeds have grown into a center of excellence for people management professionals. With a member base of 1,500, which is ever growing, including chartered fellows, chartered members, honorary members, associates and affiliates, CIPM takes pride of place among other professional bodies in the country as one of the elite institutes representing the people profession.
As a professional institution, CIPM Sri Lanka has been established by an Act of Parliament, and it has been designed and structured to deliver core values and objectives in the field of human resource management in this country. All the professionals of this institute have been groomed and developed as leaders to practice human resource management in public and private sector organizations in producing unconventional results. I invite all young practitioners to join CIPM Sri Lanka and start acquiring new techniques, best practices, and advanced principles in people management to become great leaders.
The business school arm remains the most prominent among all facilities of CIPM, with a student population of around 10,000 annually. A panel of industry and academic experts who serve on the lecturing panels and affiliations with many international universities and professional bodies. CIPM has earned a name as the epitome in the studies on people management in Sri Lanka. CIPM, with its research arm and the consultancy, seminars and workshops, is also geared with state-of-the-art modern facilities for members to conduct applied researches and publications, as well as to provide related services to the industry. CIPM's ethos remains to facilitate the local fraternity while ensuring that the importance and multifaceted aspect of people profession is made available to all connected with people management. In this endeavor, many events dot the CIPM annual calendar, which includes the National HR Conference, the Great HR Quiz, the Great HR Debate, the Great HR Symposium, the Great HR Practices, the Great HR Walk, and the star-studded CIPM Graduation Ceremony, and more. There are many reasons why people enroll at CIPM. Here are just a few. By becoming a CIPM qualified professional, you will get full recognition of your skills in the world of work. What's more, you can increase your earning potential by as much as 75%. You will enhance your CV, giving you that much needed job security and increase your job prospects. There are many courses that are conducted by the CIPM Business School for you to choose from. CIPM regional centers are strategically placed at important economic hubs of the country, such as Kandy, Galle, Kurunegala, Gampaha and Negombo. And more will be established at such strategic locations in time to come to bring the profession to all four corners of the country. CIPM has always prided itself with its membership, governed by an executive council consisting of industry experts, seasoned professionals and academics which have carried a legacy in the profession through the decades. CIPM has over the years cultivated strong relationships in order to ensure that the industry best practices are adopted at all levels. Its long-standing affiliation with Asia Pacific Foundation of Human Resources Management, World Federation of People Management Associations, and Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka are proof of this. CIPM has enhanced the vistas of the people profession in Sri Lanka and has gone beyond the geographic boundaries in conquering the region and embarked upon the elaborate journey true to its vision with a chartered status, and also by hosting the World HR Congress 2020 in Colombo, Sri Lanka, which is a historic landmark for CIPM and will pave us the way to go global. CIPM Sri Lanka.
As you saw in the corporate video, it's about CIPM. Also recently, we got the CIPD UK accreditation. Also, we have got the accredited center for CMI UK to conduct the diploma program in consultancy. So that's about CIPM. So I will move on to introduce our resource person first. Mr. Klehan Pulle is currently the Director CEO for Fintech Consultancy Private Limited. Mr. Pulle is an entrepreneur and professional with over 30 years of experience in the IT industry. He has occupied senior positions in many IT companies and has been instrumental in building them to become market leaders in their field of specialty. He has a very good understanding of Sri Lankan, Maldivian, and Bangladeshi ICT markets, and has built a strong relationship with the vendors, system integrators. So Pulle has successfully implemented many comprehensive projects involving the integration of hardware, software, and telecommunication solutions. He has the ability of adapting new technology and recommends innovative and creative solutions to prospective customers, which results in increased productivity and profitability. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest resource person, Mr. Klehan Pulle. Next, I will move on to introduce our moderator for today evening, which is Mr. Dhammika Fernando. Mr. Dhammika Fernando is a dual professional, both in engineering diplomate from University of Moratuwa in electronics and telecommunication engineering, and a postgraduate diploma plus a research MBA in HRM from the Open University of Sri Lanka. In ND HRM by CIPM, certified HR auditor CIPM TV Rao LS, chartered member and immediate past president of CIPM, past vice president of OPA Sri Lanka, current EXCO committee member of OPA Sri Lanka, and also he was the position of Asia Pacific Federation of HRM, board director and World Federation of People Management Association of World Federation for People Management Association, member National Labour Advisory Council to the Ministry of Labour, and member National Wages Board, also a General Secretary and the past chairman of Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Dhammika Fernando, today's moderator. So I will hand over now the proceedings to Mr. Klehan Pulle. He is our resource person today. So Mr. Klehan Pulle, it's over to you to start the proceedings.
Thank you for that introduction. And also let me welcome, just one second, I'll just share my screen. Is my screen visible to everybody?
Yes.
Just one out? Yeah, fine. So, first of all, let me thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and also all the participants who have taken time to be here today. Being a Friday, and instead of spending that Friday evening, you decided to come and listen to a little bit of what I'm going to say. So let me get on to the subject straight away. But before that, I'll just give you a slight introduction to who we are, what our company does, and give you that background in respect to the introduction that was given, so that you will get an idea of what we are coming and what we do and how you could discern. So as you know, the topic, the post-pandemic hybrid workplace and how we prepare for the next norm. So that's this one. So as you know, as I was introduced, my name is Klehan Pulle, the co-founder, director of FineTech Consultancies, who are basically the Google partner for Sri Lanka, Maldives and Bangladesh. And also we are the partner for Zoom. We represent Zoom in Sri Lanka, Maldives, is basically what we do. So this is all about digitization, and our journey has been always reshaping organizations and having a breakthrough in digitization. So that has been basically what we do, and that's all what we know about, and that's what we specialize. So our vision is basically to enable effective collaboration for businesses in an effective manner, enabling organizations to go green, or I would call it near paperless. That is basically what we do. And in order to do this, we basically have certain specializations. But before that, what we saw is when it comes to remote working. So we are talking today about a hybrid environment. We are talking about remote working, and this remote working is something that you as HR professionals, I'm sure before the pandemic, nobody would have encouraged this, or you would have thought that this is something that is not realistic. But today we have come to a situation that we have no option, but we have to work in that environment and see how we can match that environment. So just taking a little bit of statistics, before the pandemic, in the US, less than 4% of the population, or less than 4% of the working force, had the opportunity or wanted to work from home. But with the first wave of the pandemic, this amount increased to about 25 to 30%. It increased, and with the second, third wave of this has increased to even something close to about 50%. Or at some time when it's a total lockdown, it was in the 90%. But today this has dropped down, and it's in it's roughly about 50%. And this may, in a hybrid environment, when things are getting normalized, people have seen the benefits. Organizations have seen the benefits. In terms of benefits, what organizations see is how it can reduce cost. And employees have seen how they could reduce their cost, how they could spend more time with their families, and how they could be more productive. So these are lots of things that you need to start thinking about. But what is the challenge? Moment the working from home situation came up, most of the organizations were not ready for that. Why? Because their tools were not available, because we were used to working in a closed environment, coming to office, working in office, going back home. So that was our environment. But the challenges that came is, do we have the tools? Where do we get the tools to connect and work, have access to our data, have access to all our documents, all our files, and work from anywhere? That is basically the concept that people were started looking at. Do we have the tools to do that? Because the tools that were available were all traditional tools, which were basically enabled to a server environment, all coming to office and accessing the files and accessing your documents and everything from office. Then the next challenge that came up in this is basically the security. How do you enable giving corporate data out? How do you ensure that it is secure? How do you ensure that this data doesn't go into the wrong people's hand? So these type of thoughts started coming in. So having this, where Google, companies like Zoom, basically brought the technologies and gave that ability for people to work from home.
These came back from a search.
So having this, couple of things that we need to think. How do I modernize my infrastructure? How do I accelerate application innovation? How do I create insights from data? How do I address lines of business challenges? Or how do I transform how my teams work together? Now, these are the challenges that organizations will have, individuals will have, and you as HR professionals will have a challenge. How do you bring this gap and how do you handle this in this pandemic situation and in a pre-pandemic situation? And now getting back to work, how would it look like? And that's where the cloud came in, and where the cloud comes into. I'm not going to explain what cloud is. I'm not going to make this a training session, but we can take it. If there are any questions, you can ask me later on. So these are the challenges that came in, and what I'm going to take you through is how do we answer these. But before that, a little bit of statistics like to share with you, because you as HR professionals need to think about this. What they saw is, I'll give you the blogs and the sources of this. These are basically US statistics, but these are also could be applicable in a Sri Lankan context, because we are talking of working from home, we are talking of a hybrid environment. So what they saw is 86% of the virtual teams reported difficulties in communication. So that was one of the challenges. 75% of the remote workers say that they missed out on important information. Why? Because they didn't have access to certain important information in making decisions. And there's another very important thing, again, you as HR professionals need to think about. 37% of remote workers believe working from home can result in less visibility and access to their leaderships. So these are some of the challenges that you need to think apart from the technology. So what we say is with Google, with tools, with the technology that things like Google, Zoom give you, is basically the path to the business transformation. We call it a transformation, and this word is a hacked word. Everybody talks about business transformation, but what we see is a clear strive to help companies to, by doing this transformation or getting digital or being able to access your data from wherever you are. What are we saying? The result should be, are you improving your efficiencies? Are you driving innovation? Can this reduce cost? Can you create value? And can this eventually increase productivity? So let's ask these questions, because these are the things that we need, you and us, we all as IT professionals and HR professionals need to see whether the organization can achieve this. And if the organization can achieve it, why not use these tools? So I will tell you what are the tools that you should be using, why you need this, and let's go on. Of course, if there is any questions that you like to ask me, you can raise your hand, or you can stop and question me. Other than that, at the end of the session, we can open it up for questions. So again, what is the specialty on FineTech? Why am I talking about this? What is the background and what is the specialty? So as a company, we have got 8 partner expertise built into under our feather. In the financial services, we have been certified as a expertise in digitization. In industrial goods and manufacturing, in work transformation, in Google Meet, that is the video conferencing aspect of it, in consumer packaging and goods, in small and medium businesses, and also identity and device management. Now, this is also very important when you are working on a hybrid environment, when you are working from home, when you are having access to data giving access to data from the office data to people from different locations. The device management becomes a very important thing, because you are giving access to people to access their data from maybe a phone, maybe a tablet, maybe a computer. But what again comes is, what is the security? And how do you ensure that the correct people are accessing this data? So these are the challenges that you have, and how do we address these challenges? So that device management becomes a very important thing. Because when somebody leaves the organization, how do you ensure that you wipe off the data that is organization data? Do you have the tools for that? Is that possible? So these are the challenges that come in. Cloud productivity is another area that we are basically certified on, and these 8 certifications are there. So our journey always in your digitization journey should be an initiation where you have to do a ground understanding, exploring, building, early execution, seeing significant results, and then of course coming to a fully integrated environment where you can work from home. So before I get into the technology, as I told Damika also before we started this session, I will take about 10 to 15 minutes explaining this, and then I'll take some time explaining the tools. So what we already know, people are working from home more than ever. So that is something that has come in. What we expect, people will continue to work from home again more than they used to be. As you see, the advantages are there, so you will see that happening. What we don't know is, what does it look like back to work? Look like in the post-pandemic? How does it look like back to work? Because we are going to have, when you come back to work, we are not going to see that traditional office that we saw previously, where everybody, 100% of the staff came in the morning, clocked in, went off, and the routine went on. But now we are going to see is that you have identified that certain people will see that it's comfortable for them to work from home, and they are more productive working from home. So the world is going to be different. People who work from home have increased dramatically, and that number will roughly remain that you'll see in organizations. Eventually it will settle down to about between 35 and 50% of the people will have the option of working from home, while the rest will come to office. And how do you manage this concept? Because I was just looking at, in my organization, I was looking at, we take development staff. I just took one example and I just started talking to there's a guy called Sahan. He lives in Gampaha, and I was talking to him. So he comes to office daily by train, and then from there, my office is in Navana. From the train he moves into the bus and he comes back. So that takes him roughly about 2 hours. So this 2 hours he spends, morning 2 hours, evening 2 hours. So that's 4 hours a day. So we worked for 20 days. He's spending 150 hours on the road. He spends about 200 rupees on his traveling, so which is about 400 rupees a day, which is about 10,000 rupees a month. So when you look at it, the 150 hours that he was working is basically converted into something like, at 8 hours a day, 18.5 working days. And when Sahan was working in office, he only works for 20 days. But now he still works. He gets up in the morning. I asked him, he gets up in the morning, takes a good, sleeps well, no rush, starts work at about 8:30 and goes on till about 7:38. So what has happened is, effectively he has added 18.5 man days to his normal 20-day man day working, and he doesn't have to work on Saturday, Sundays. Whereas earlier, to finish targets, he used to work on Saturday, Sundays as well. So this is where one example, but you'll see many examples. If you start addressing the staff, you'll see that these type of examples come in. So most people have a job. Another thing is important is, most people have a job that lets them work from home partially. So, because I also don't believe in 100% working from home, but there are certain job criteria that you can work from home. But also, if you really analyze, but the US statistics show 56% of the workforce have a job that they can partially work from home. So it might be a while, nearly a third of the workforce will work from home in coming into the 2021-22 series. And that's what I said, roughly about 30% of the workforce will work from home. And more people will want to get jobs that give them this option of working from home. So that will be an encouragement to the workforce. So what does this mean? The workplace, this is a very important thing. The workplace is now just a workspace, and the distance is not a problem. It's a necessity. So this is something that you'll all like to know, that your workplace is now just coming to a workspace. And what does that do? You help the environment, you help to improve the carbon footprint, because less transport, less traveling, all those things come in, and you need to convert your environment into a workspace, whereas earlier we used to call a workplace. So how do you deal with the new normal with and preparing for the next normal. So this is something that we need. So number one, embrace work from home. Equip your workforce because you need to be equipped. You need to have the proper tools to do this. And prepare the workspace. That is, I'll show you some samples of workspaces because workspace becomes an important area. So these are the three ingredients to prepare for the new norm. Evaluate. So as HR people, evaluate the opportunities and conditions. Identify job functions. Know what roles and people are best suited for in this. Understand the best practices for working from home. And these are things that you have to lay down. Otherwise, you will find it this working from home might become uncontrollable as well. You need to think of how do you ensure that people are really working from home. Now, we used to ensure that people come to office by putting their thumbprint or putting their marking the register, swiping the card and all those things. Now, when they're working from home, how do you know whether he's working from home or whether he's really going out and doing his shopping or going and visiting visitors, neighbors or whatever it is? How do you know that? So, Google has the tools for that. So, Google Maps is an identical to absolute tool which can basically track that for you and ensure that people are working from home and they're actually working from home. Ask the employees about their experience and struggles so to understand that, which you can help them, then give them the proper tools. Start thinking about guidelines and hybrid schedules. So these are things that you need to think as HR professionals when enabling people to work from home. Understand the hardware and the software needs for efficiencies. So you've got to understand what tools they need, because when you're working from home, maybe those very slow computers or very slow devices that they had in office may not be a solution. You need to identify that. Internet, bandwidth, coverage, lots of things you need to start identifying. So that's again something that the organization has to rethink of in looking at working from home, because it is something that the tools have to be there to make it efficient and to have this productivity, those 5 ingredients that I always said. To achieve those 5 ingredients, you need to ensure that the environment is set for the employees and the necessary tools are given, including the necessary hardware. Office may require more private spaces and employees distance. That is basically keeping into the COVID guidelines and all those things. So you will have less people come into office, but those less people will have to share a bigger space because of different COVID guidelines and all that. So these are things that you need to think of. I won't spend time on that. You're the professional in that aspect of it. But I'm just opening up your mind because you need to start thinking about this. So what we are talking is how Google, Zoom and their technologies can, and now you can plan with data. As you know, data is something which is more valuable than any other asset in the world. And some people say that data is even more valuable than fuel. So at a work, wherever you work, so the traditional office, how you make your environment, the workspace. So workspace means somebody might have an executive office at your home. So that's one option. You may even decide to make your home some work area in your dedicated home office, in a dedicated space with a small table and a notebook and a computer or whatever it is. So that is your own office space. Some people may have a home desk. Whatever is comfortable for you, whatever is not going to disturb you, whatever keeps your mind at ease and allows you to work. So that's another aspect of it. So these are some thoughts that I'm throwing to you. Your kitchen table might be a place, right? So this is all whatever makes it comfortable, and just that you need is a device and your internet. That's all you should be having in a work office environment if you are fully digitized. So home and office whiteboards, you have heard of things called Jamboards. Now Google calls it a Jamboard, but how you could work on the Magiboards, the whiteboards, how that can be converted into home and office environment. So that's something again that you need to start thinking of. So with that introduction, let me get into the tools. Is there any questions or anything that you'd like to ask me before I get into the tools that the Google tool. So I exactly took about 20 minutes just to explain that, and I will take another 20 to 25 minutes highlighting you on some of the tools. I will show you one or two examples also on these tools that are available, but I think time will not permit me to go into lots of details, but wherever possible I will show you some tools which can help you to think of how Google and Zoom can help you. Zoom, you can see that I am doing this entire webinar on Zoom, so that is one of the things that you straight away see. So let's look at, if there are no questions, let's look at what are the tools that are available with Google and how do you look at it. So I call this, in my words, the 12 things of digitization. So let me start explaining what these 12 things are and why you need these 12 things to digitize your organization. So we start with documents, because if you are digitizing and if you want to work from home, or I would call it work from anywhere, when that concept comes in, the first thing is you need to have access to all your files. You need access to all your documents. So digitizing your documents become a very important thing. So if you take Google, now this is available in the Google Gmail, or we call it Workspace in the enterprise side, but the free version is the Google Gmail account. We have a thing called Google Drive, and Google Drive can help you to store your documents. We have an option where even you can have this option, you go to the on your mobile, you can go, if it's Android or if it's iOS, you go to the Google Play Store, the Android store, and you can download the Google Drive app onto your mobile or to your tablet or to your computer. And this has an ability of scanning any document and storing it on the Google Drive. Now what this is unique is, when you scan a document, in the traditional days, to find the document, we had to index this document and keep an index, and there was a lot of rigmarole to be done in order to search for the document. But Google today has come up with a technology that they can scan a document and just store it without doing any indexing or anything. And when you want to search for a document, by typing the context in the document, Google can search for the document. And believe me, this is not only in English, this is available in 196 languages. And out of the 196 languages, Sinhala and Tamil are two languages that is available. So you can scan your Sinhala documents, Tamil documents, English documents, and when you want to search for the document, you only have to search by context which are available in the document. So that is where we start, because you need to have your access, all your personal files, everything to be digitized. All you need is scan it and keep it. Even if you are working in office environment, this becomes very important. The next thing, the second thing of digitization is, how do you search for it? So when you talk about search, again, Google is known for its search. In the olden days, when you want to know something, you will say, God only knows. If somebody asks you something and you say, I don't know, God only knows. Today, everybody says, Google it. You ask a small child even any question, if he doesn't know, he'll say, just let me Google it. So Google has the fastest and the best search engine in the world, and that's what Google is all about. And once these documents are stored, you have the ability of searching for the documents using this Google Fast Search. The third thing is DLP, which we call in technical terms DLP. It is called actually data leakage prevention. So what DLP does is basically ensures that high security is provided, especially in a banking environment, in the health sector, in certain regulated sectors, that your data is preserved and nobody has access to your data is basically something. Let me see, there is a question that has come. Asanga, what can we do if the employees do not like digitization or digitization? How can we motivate them? Okay, Asanga, I will take that question towards the latter part of this one. Let me take that after I explain this. I'll take that question. So, data leakage prevention is basically very important to ensure that only the correct data goes to the correct people. Employees are not able to just share the data, because when it's a file, you can say they can't take the file out of the office, but now they can access it from wherever, but only certain rules, certain conditions, certain security mechanisms can be implemented where you don't allow people to take the data out We can also make sure that people can't forward data, they can't copy the files, they can't print it. Lots of things can be done. You can enable the data for a particular time frame. You can say you can have access to these files only for the day, or only for the week, or only for a month. So those type of lots of things can be done. So that security is very important. So that's again, Google has the tools for that. Then we come to the next thing is the documents, where you need to use spreadsheets. You need to use Google Docs for your documents, and also presentations. Now this presentation that I am doing is using Google Presentations. Since I am telling you that it's on Google Presentations, it's on Google Presentation. Otherwise you would have thought I am doing a PowerPoint presentation here. But this is the technology that is available. And in all these technologies, Google has built in a lot of AI and ML, which I will show you some examples of AI and machine learning that has been implemented in Google technologies. And also very important is voice typing. Some of you would have, it may not be new, some of you would have heard of it. Google has a fantastic voice typing option where you no longer need to sit and type, and this works for Sinhala, Tamil and English. I'll show you an example in Sinhala, because English it will not be very exciting, because you can do it, but I'll show you, I'll take an example and show you in Sinhala. Google Forms for fast data collection is another tool that is there. Then collaboration, that is video conferencing, recording your video, the same thing that I'm doing on Zoom, you can do it on Google. So both give you the same features, but Zoom is a little more advanced when it comes to video conferencing. It has a lot of advanced features, whereas Google was meant for meetings, and it was not for this seminar type of things. But now Google is also coming there. Zoom is also going up, but Zoom is the fastest growing video conferencing solution in the world. Then of course in organizations, whether you like it or not, there is a e-learning aspect of it. So we are basically moving from a traditional, now you as personal managers, HR managers, or I don't know whether I'm using the correct term, human resource personnel, training is and development becomes a very important thing. So do you have the tools for that? Do you have the tools to make sure that every staff member is trained, that you can have exams, you can evaluations? So Google has the platform. In our workspace, we provide a platform, complete e-learning platform is available on that. A lot of the universities in Sri Lanka are using this, worldwide universities are using it, and we also now enable it for organizations. Then comes the eighth thing, which is basically the mobile device management. Now that is where it's important again, where you can, companies might give the devices to employees, companies might ask the employee to buy their devices and allow them to use company data on that. So this is an environment where you can manage these devices and give the ability where whenever they leave the company or whenever you want, you should be able to delete all the company information from their devices, while their personal information retains on the device, if it is a personal device. If it is a device, somebody company device or something, they lose the device. So you go for a cocktail and leave your device somewhere. And what is important to you may not be the device. What will be important is the data, and that it doesn't go into the wrong hands. So if you have an ability of telling your administrator, I lost my device, can you just wipe it off? With one stroke, he should be able to wipe it off. And when you get a new device, you should be able to resync it back. So that's what mobile device management does. I'm just giving a glimpse of it, but let's go into details. Then we come to the Jamboard, which we call a Jamboard, but that is a digital board where you have like the Magiboard in the office, where people will be able to manage their organization, do meetings, do discussions, planning and all that, and multiple people can write on the same board, and eventually you have your documents created. This Google Keep is another nice tool that Google provides, and you can, these are all freely available for individuals. For organizations you got to pay for it, but for individuals all these tools I'm talking of are freely available. So if you take Google Keep, it's a fantastic tool. We are used to these post-it pads, sticky notes, writing some notes down. Then say for example, you say I want to do something, you take your diary and write it. Your diary may be a physical diary, it may be a digital diary. But one of the problems, say for example, I decide, when I'm going to my Kurunegala branch, or at PIM you say I'm going to my Kurunegala branch, I want to discuss 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 things I want to discuss with the manager at the Kurunegala branch. So you can write it in your diary. but actually you still don't know when you are going to the Kurunegala branch. Now, therefore, you will, when you write, you might write it in your diary or you might put a note of it. But when you go to Kurunegala branch, you obviously forget about it because that note was put 10 days ago or 5 days ago. And when you go there, you really forget about it. But now, using this Google Keep is a tool that you can write down things that you want to remember. And this is integrated with Google Maps. So what you do is you remember and then you say the reminder is a place. You give an address. When I get to this address, remind me about this. So when you have this Google Keep on your phone or your device, when you go to the Kurunegala office, this note will pop up. Because it knows now you have come to Kurunegala, to this particular address, and you wanted to remind you about these things when you get to this address. So isn't that a wonderful tool? Because otherwise, we would be writing it on a paper, and that has happened to me previously, where when I go to the place, I really forget about it. When I'm going to a client, I want to talk to this client about these things. But I don't know when I'm going there. Whenever I remember, I write it down. But now I put it on a Google Keep, and I have put the client's address, and I keep it there. And then whatever notes I take, I want to share it among my colleagues. All I do is put their email address, and this note is immediately shared among multiple people. Otherwise, I'll have to photocopy this, this. And you can photograph, you can take voice cuts onto this, you can photograph locations. So lots of facilities are available on this. Then we come to the mail, which is normal mail in Google, but lots of AI tools are inbuilt into it. Now, when you get a set of mail, you will always see that your email box is full of things. But if you say, okay, I want to identify this mail, I'll look at it later. This mail remind me in 5 days time. So those lot of AI tools can be basically is inbuilt into the Google setup that will make your life much more easier. And then of course, we end up with Google Chat. Now Google Chat is, if I ask most of you, how do you use, do you have chat groups in your organization? Most of you will say, yes, we do have. And most of those chat groups are basically chat groups that come up from yeah, I'll take those questions as we go on, right? Most of these chat groups, basically we'll say, okay, I'm using WhatsApp, I'm using, say WhatsApp. But one of the things is with WhatsApp is that these are all personal IDs, and when somebody leaves the group, he can take that data out, he can send that data to anybody they want. The organization has no control. So with Google Chat, you have this, the control, and also you can inbuild a lot of things that can basically bring in technology, which will things like rooms and meeting, you can do certain amount of project management and stuff can be inbuilt into this. So this is basically what I call the 12 things of digitization, which I'll take some examples and show you. Let me move on to a few other things and then come back to this. Okay, let me move into something that, right. So another thing that I want to talk to you is, in a digital environment, another thing is you will have your core application. So your core application will be basically, you will have a ERP, which can be your accounting, finance modules. In a banking environment, it can be a banking application, it can be whatever it is, a core ERP will be there. But there are lots of paperwork that happens in an organization. You still look at, though the ERP is there, we still do the petty cash on a paper. We still have the sales tracking done on a spreadsheet. We don't have a CRM. We don't have a customer support application. We don't have a task management application. Station request, service agreement maintenance. So you just think of what sort of different applications that the organization we need, but those are still on paper. Now Google saw this, and we have come up with a platform which is called a Google no-code platform. You don't have to know a single word of programming. Without knowing a single line of programming, you can generate your applications. So what this is a tool called AppSheets, which is one of the only no-code platforms that are available. Since there's a question asked about Microsoft, I'll also tell you that nobody has a tool which is a 100% no-code application. All are called low-code applications. So it's a product of Google, tried and tested applications, security is inbuilt into that, and user management is also inbuilt. So I will not spend too much time on this because I know time is running out, but I will jump into show you some of the things that what it does. It can create dashboards and so on for you. And one of the things is, this is the differentiator. In a traditional way, when you want to create an application or develop application, whether it's a petty cash application, whether it's a vehicle maintenance application, whether it's a sales application, a CRM or whatever it is, you had an idea. Then you had to sit and write the requirements, write a project spec. You got to get a developer to develop this thing. Then you come up with the code, you have to check the code, you have to do the QC and all those, and then only you come up with the solution. But this Google's no-code solution is that you got an idea, you just give the criteria of the idea onto the system, and it automatically generates your application. And when it does that, so it does that without writing a single line of code. So when it does that, it also generates your mobile application, which can be iOS or Android. It also generates your tablet, which can be again Apple or Android or whatever it is, and your browser application. Your data sources can be an Excel spreadsheet, it can be a Google spreadsheet, it can be Oracle, it can be AWS, it can be Dropbox, it can be Google Drive, it can be SQL, MySQL, it can be any data source. You have the ability of using barcode scanning, QR code scanning, all that is possible. And some of the features will be, you can capture images, location tracking because you can integrate it with Google Maps, barcode scanning, QR code scanning, you can take physical signatures, and also the application will not, you can run it offline even when you go into places that internet is not there, you can run the application. Delivery notifications, you can connect it to SMS gateways, as I showed you, report generating, email, sending emails, you can have this one, you can install across all devices, integrate platforms, apply logic. So these are basically tools that Google has come out with, where you can generate your applications without having requirements of developers. You can generate your applications. So I'm giving you, it can be field service applications, it can be inventory management, it can be inspection audit application, project management, human resources, education and training, sales and marketing. So the horizon is large, it's up to your imagination. And I'll share some examples. Today, Cargill's Bank has a whole lead of these applications apart from their core running on this Google AppSheet platform, which is basically they have generated these applications without a single line of coding. DFCC Bank, Sarvodaya Bank, and there are lots of applications you can think of, whether it may be a petty cash, whether it may be a payment voucher, HR recruitment, vehicle request management, staff grievances, service agreement maintenance, sales boosters, sales trackers, station requests. So you think of it, we have applications deployed across our customers, but there is no single line of coding that is available in this. So now what? Do these 5 things. Do not panic, start a plan, gather some data, ask for help, and go back to step 1. So this is basically, in a very quick nutshell, what this whole thing is about. Now let me take you through some examples and show you where Google is ahead of all these other technologies. So I'm going in my first example is, some of you might have experienced voice typing, but if it is not, I'll just show you. So Google has this ability. Now when you get into a document, you can type a document, but I'm going to show you is, I'm going to, now a lot of us, HR people, a lot of you people have to write letters in Sinhala, or you might have to communicate in Sinhala or Tamil to your clients. And the biggest challenge is, how do you find somebody who can type Sinhala, who can type, Tamil, right? Leave alone typing, who can write a proper letter in Sinhala or in Tamil, it's a challenge. So I'm showing how you can do this in Sinhala. Now you can see my screen. And I'm going to, I have set the voice into Sinhala, and I'm going to talk in Sinhalese and write a few lines in Sinhala to show you this. මෙවන විට කොරෝනා වෛරසයට එරෙහිව එන්නත් මාත්‍රා බිලියන 7කට වැඩි සංඛ්‍යාවක් ලොව පුරා රටවල් 197කදී ලබා දී තිබේ. කෙසේ නමුත් ලොවේ විවිධ තැන්වල එන්නත්කරණය ප්‍රගතියේ විශාල වෙනස්කම් දක්නට හැකිය. සිය ජනගහනයෙන් විශාල කොටසක් සඳහා මාත්‍රා මිලට ගෙන එන්නත්කරණය සිදු කිරීම ඇතැම් රටවල් සමත් වී ඇති නමුත් තවත් සමහර රටවල් සිටින්නේ තරමක් පසුපසින්ය. ලොව පුරා සෑම වැඩිහිටියෙකුටම පාහේ එන්නත් මාත්‍රා ලබා දීමට අදහස් කරන ලෝක ඉතිහාසයේ විශාලතම එන්නත් කරන වැඩසටහන මෙය වේ. I won't take your time. So you see, I was able to dictate my letter using the singular, just speaking to the computer. You can do this on a phone, you can do it on anything. So that's one example. Let me go into another example. So here is how AI kicks in. Now these are not available in most of the other technologies, because I have asked a question, there was a question asked that, mentioning certain products that they can do it, this is not magic or whatever it is. But these are technologies that Google has. Now I got a spreadsheet here, and this spreadsheet has lines and lines of data. And what I say is, now if I present this to you as people, now this is actually the data is basically my staff. This is a bit of an old set of data. We use for all our staff traveling, we use Uber. And at the end of the month, Uber sends a bill to us, and they send the breakdown in a spreadsheet like this. Now this spreadsheet tells me what each staff member has gone, where have they gone, what is their name, where have they gone, what time they went in the Uber, how much was cost, where did they go, everything is here. Now if you give me this doesn't mean anything much to me, but I would have to give it to somebody to analyze this and give me, maybe I want some pivot tables, maybe I want some graphical representations, I want to see by department how much have you spent, by person how much have you spent, some analytics of this. Now if you were doing it on a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, you would have to sit and do all this. But Google has built in AI into this, and by press of a button, it will basically do the entire analysis and first give me analysis, like for example, it will give me the pivot tables. So different types. I'll just say by staff, how many trips have each one done? By the date, how much have we spent on a date, average distance that has gone. So all the different options, it will basically do it and give me that. Then it will also do the different graphical analysis that I want and give me. I can just drag and drop this anywhere and I can edit this. So that is one. Not only that, now Google has we go another step, that we convert machine language into formulas. Now if somebody is to ask me, okay, there is Dilhani, or we'll take Sam. I want to know how many trips has Sam done in the month. So I'll say, let me know Sam's total. So if I say Sam's total, it will do the calculation and say, Sam's total, it will say Sam has done 31 trips. So the heading here is distance, or we'll say fare, or we'll say amount. I'll say I want to know Sam's total amount, I want to say. The heading here is amount. So I'll say amount, and this guy will calculate and give me that. If I was to do a formula, this would have been the formula, and I'm sure most of the people who are experts on Excel will not know how to do a formula like this. But I didn't need to know a formula, I only need to know simple English. So that's basically just two examples which I thought of sharing, showing you the AI features and so on. So I have taken roughly about 45 minutes as I promised, 43 minutes to be exact. So with that, let me move on to, there are some questions, I can see about 4 questions there. Am I to take the questions, or any other things you like, somebody, from Damika, would you like to pose any questions, or shall I take these questions?
Yeah, you can straight away take the questions also. Well, since there aren't much of questions, we'll answer the questions first and then move on accordingly.
Right. The first question Asanka has is, what can we do if employees do not like digitization, or digitization, how can we motivate them? Good question, because from my company FineTech point of view, we have covered over 500 plus companies in Sri Lanka. We have done about 40 companies in the Maldives, organizations, and about 10 plus companies in Bangladesh. So this is a challenge, because when you start off, most people don't like digitization for various reasons, right? Reasons can be, when you digitize, it is additional, they think it's additional work for them. Then they basically think that they can't do, people's who are having small clusters in organization, who are holding on to data, will lose their power, lots of things that come in. So the way to get this is basically educating. So we have in our programs, when we implement digitization, the first thing is a marketing program to market this concept to the organization, to the staff, because without marketing that, you will not be able to get the staff involved in it. But once they see the benefit, you will see that they will keep on, the adoptions will keep on increasing drastically. So we have seen that, and it is basically education, education, and education.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
So the next
think
question is,
add to what you say, Ms. Vananapule, this I think in the point in the HR aspect, the skill development and training comes into play here. I
it's very
suppose.
important, because
Yeah.
you can't do digitization without the support of the HR division, because
Yeah.
most organizations go wrong is that they think that IT is the department who should do the digitization.
Correct.
No,
Correct.
it's wrong. It has to be HR IT plays a role. Not that I don't say IT doesn't play a role, because they play a role in identifying the technologies and all that best technologies for the organization and all that part of it. But the people who should run it is basically the HR, because you see, starting from an intranet for the organization, getting the information across to people, all that is HR's job, and HR plays a major role in the digitization process.
I think first and foremost, it's the policy side. We have to make policies and procedures first, and that should be integrated into the company policy framework and the HR policy framework. And then when it comes to skill development and training, as you very correctly said, we need to, the HR need to play a major role, which will inevitably be needed as organizations roll out of new policies, processes, and platforms. But the single most important muscle to build is to help leaders to manage in a distributed environment, recognizing that coaching, development, and motivating employees from a distance requires a whole new set of skills, actually train the trainer like skills and habits. While this may come naturally to some leaders, to many, it's a new muscle that needs to be developed. And organizations also are already being training platforms to upskill managers and employees on its workplace transition, with features to strengthen social connectivity and employee well-being. Especially, when it comes to this, as the question asks, I think in certain cases, very sincerely, there can be issues with the employee well-being. So this aspect of people management needs to be much looked at when you change or change on to this digitalization in an organization. Leon.
Okay, thanks, Damika, for that. The next question, I think I have answered the next question. Somebody anonymously has put a question. Similar facilities are available in the Office O365 Microsoft also. So can you do the comparison with Microsoft features? What special features have Google than Microsoft? I can do that, but time doesn't permit. But I already showed you two features. I showed you a voice typing feature. I showed you AI in a spreadsheet, AI and ML in a spreadsheet, and Microsoft cannot do both those. So I can show you more and more, but we can take that offline. I hope I answered that question. Is that sufficient for the person who posed that question, or can I move to the next question?
Yeah, I think it would be sufficient. Yes, you may go to the next question, please.
Okay. Can individuals use these app sheet via mobile? Yes, you can. AppSheet is basically a tool that is developed for mobile, for browser, and for the tablet. So when you create application, it automatically generates for the application for the mobile, and mobile means Android, iOS both, and tablets, whether it's Apple or whether it's Android, and then finally for the browser. So yes, it does all that.
Yeah. The third question is about this. There are a couple of Microsoft apps available, Stream and Sway. Klehan, can you just say something about it?
I am not expert on Microsoft, so I will not talk about an area that I'm not. I don't have expertise. I know about it, but I would not comment on it because I don't know much in detail to talk about it. Equivalent
Alright.
apps of Google, equivalent apps of Google. Yes, Google does have a suite of applications which are equally, or I would call it, I could say much better, but it's all it's up to the perception of each individual. But we do have all these total apps, and when it comes to the Gmail aspect of it, those are free for individuals to use it. For the corporate, it is available. The difference between the free and this one is free is not manageable. It's for individuals. The corporate versions are manageable and is administered by the organization. So that's the difference. How do we get these skills? Do you have a platform for that? Yeah, skills are available because you can. I can share some links with Damika, and you can have those, which
Yeah.
is basically available within the Google platform. These skills are available, and tools are available.
Now, Klehan, there is one question also in the chat box says that you have mentioned that the location can be tracked using Google feature. Will
Yeah.
it be a privacy concern at the employees end? Can the
Okay.
employee argue on this when it comes to labor concerns?
Yes, so that's a good question. What it does is basically when the employee now like an employee comes to office, he will clock in when he comes to office. He will keep his thumbprint, or he will traditionally, or he'll keep a swipe card or something, and then he marks his in. Moment he marks his in, until he marks his out, he is responsible. The organization is responsible for his well-being and for his activities. The organization is responsible, as well as he is responsible to serve the organization. So we do a similar thing on the Google Map. Is when he starts the day, he marks a day in. Moment he marks the day in, we start tracking him. And moment he marks the day out, we stop tracking him. And with the Google Calendar, we integrate it where you can basically assign tasks to him, assign work to him, and every time he starts a work and finishes the work, he can say, I spent this time from this time. And you can monitor whether he is in the designated location. If he steps out of the designated location, a message can be given to his superior that he is not in a designated location. So that is basically how we track it. So I don't think there's any employee privacy, because when you log in and log out, you are in company time. And the company has the right to know what you are doing and where you are. But moment you finish your work, you mark a day off. Once you mark a day off, Google will stop recording your whereabouts, and even the company will not be able to track your whereabouts moment the day out is marked. So it's up to him to mark the day out. We have this in some organizations, and when people mark their day in and they don't mark their day out. So when we tell them, okay, if you don't do that, we will know all your wherever you are going and everything. Then they suddenly say, no, we are going to mark the day out. So HR finds it very easy to get them to mark the day out, because they will make sure, because they don't want their private trips to be known. So that is basically, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, to add what Klehan had said, that in HR and the IR aspect, I think this is perfectly legal, and even before the work from home era, the knowledge workers, in the sense, especially these IT or the programmers and IT workers, ICT workers, have been working from home and been working from remote location. They mostly have never punched cards or put thumbprints. So they're basically in the field, going to clients and customers and likewise. So those people actually have marked the way that Klehan has said already. And it's perfectly legal in that sense. And also in HR, it is not unethical, because they have a responsibility towards organizations as long as they work. They mark in time and out time. So because it's not an infringement of privacy, I would say.
Okay, and Ajit, there's a second part to that question.
Yeah.
Most of the time, networks coverage is, yeah. So for this feature, you need a device, and you don't need internet coverage is not required, because what we do is we are picking up from the GPS, and we can store that location on the device, and moment they come into internet coverage, we can push it out. So GPS is available throughout the country, but what is not available is internet coverage. So for to track the location, we don't need internet coverage. You need internet coverage only to transmit that information to a central location for people to start monitoring it. But to mark the location, you don't need internet. I am leaving. Okay.
No, that's
Sorry,
not a question.
That is
Yeah.
not a
So
question.
there are a
Sorry.
few more other additional questions on once again on the Q&A. You have mentioned that the location can be tracked using Google features. Will it be okay? That we've answered, right?
Yeah.
And then says, how much does it cost per user for the suite of applications you mentioned for an organization that has 50 users? Also, is there a desktop version of Excel, Outlook, and can we get the old data migrated to Google?
Yeah. So the last part of the question, the answer is yes. The first part of the question is for 50 users, the Google has, it depends on what you really want to do. We'll have to do a bit of get a clear understanding of your organization. But the list price goes at $72, but forget it. Because we never sell those at list prices in Sri Lanka. We got very special prices for Sri Lanka to meet the Sri Lankan economic situation. So the pricing we can talk separately whenever you want. You can contact us and we can give you the pricing. But the answer to your second part of the question is yes.
Well, the next question is any other analytical tools from Google similar to Power BI?
Yes. Google has two types of tools. One is, the first thing is Data Studio, which we give it free, and then it can do.
Google support.
I would say it can do about 50 to 60% of what Power BI can do. But we also have another product called Looker, which is basically in the lines of Power BI. So we have two tools. The Looker is a paid tool; it's not free. But the Data Studio is a free tool where you can create your dashboards, you can create insights out of data. A good amount of analytics can be done using Data Studio, which is free. Even to the corporate organizations, when you buy the Google suite, you get that, and individuals can use this Data Studio. But Looker is a paid tool which basically does exactly which is in par with Power BI.
Right. Let me see. There are two new messages. Please share video recording because I missed first part of the session. I have to ask from you, Klehan.
Yeah, we can. At the end of this, end of the session, we can share this, and we can also ensure that this can be put on YouTube so that you can and send you the link. So that can be done.
Yeah. So since we have a little more time, I just would like to pose a question, Klehan. Now, see, even before the pandemic, we've been the information era, rather the fourth industrial revolution was being in place, and people been organizations and the world's been preparing for this fourth industrial revolution. And in the forefront, what we've now making use, like reaping benefits of other three buzzwords, or rather four buzzwords, which are AI, ML, and big data and IoT. So, while we are into the revolution, the pandemic happened. And during the pandemic, the people who planned in, rolling out these particular things on AI, ML, big data, and IoT had to expedite and had a bit of a kind of a marathon thing where the organizations to operate as usual in the new normal. And for the next normal, what happened is that companies have found during this pandemic and through working unexpected benefits in remote or hybrid work.
Yes.
Now they must find unexpected benefit. When I say unexpected benefits, you know what those are. So now they must find thoughtful ways to preserve those benefits. So can you let me know? For one example, I would say is, it comes to certain ethical area also, which affects HR, is that you can easily downsize organizations. How? I mean, it is just one example, but would you by and large can you explain that how and why ways to preserve those benefits?
Yeah, I think it's a very important thing, because if you look at at the beginning of that, I showed you some slides where what we estimate is that 57% or at least more than 50% of the people have the option of, when you analyze their work, they have the option of partially working from home, partially working in office, or some of them have the option of completely working from home. Now, I don't agree that you can eliminate staff by this, but you can increase the efficiencies, is what I believe. Now, one of the examples I took is a very simple example of one of my team members who used to travel to office from Gampaha to Colombo. And he used to spend 2 hours traveling time, morning 2 hours, evening 2 hours. So when I calculated that, it comes for 20 days, it came to 150 hours. You divide the 150 hours by 8 hours, it came to 18 and a half working days, man days. And normally he would work 20 man days. We just assume that he works 20 man days. And that 20 man days also, when he comes to office, he comes by 9 o'clock. By the time he gets settled down, because he's traveling from Gampa by train and then the rest of it is coming by bus, settled down, it takes about half an hour. 9:30 he starts work. Then by 4:30 he is ready, because he has to catch the train. If he misses that train, he is going to be very late home. So he has to catch that train. So now you see, the same guy is working from home. He doesn't have to get up very early in the morning, but he starts at 8 or 8:30, and he puts in work till about 7:30 sometimes, having his lunch, all that stuff. And what has done is he has added 18 and a half man days back to his working schedule.
Yeah.
So his working schedule, which was 20 man days, has now become 38.5 man days. And he also saves his Sunday, because we have the proper tools to monitor his efficiencies and all that stuff. And then he also saves this 10,000 rupees, which otherwise he would have spent on transport. So that's a very simple thing. But you take from the organization point of view. Now when that guy comes, tea, refreshments, so many things. And now with this new norm, we have to look at other things, like we have to look at sanitization, we have to look at health safety. So more things have to be looked at. The lunchroom, people cannot go to the lunchroom at the same time. Earlier at lunchtime, 10 people went, they had a chat, they were seated around the tables. Now, maybe the 10 people went, now I can only accommodate 4 people at a time. So the 4 people have to wait till those 4 people finish and come back. So these are lots of things that organizations will see to improve. Then I see is that, as you said very correctly when you started, people didn't like, they had to accelerate their digitization when the pandemic started.
Yes.
So they will now continue to, what we are seeing is people are continuing to ensure that, because they have now seen the benefit of digitization. Now when the pandemic broke out, Fintech as an organization, most of our customers didn't worry, because they had already digitized most of their stuff. So when you are approving a document, you may need collaborative information supporting information to approve that. Now if you are doing it from home, you don't have the file with you. So now when it's digitized, you just type the name and short name and it comes up. And you have the documents, scanned documents are there. So you don't have to worry, everything is there. So this is where I see that people should move to this. And at the same time, you will have, because again HR will come up with this, you can't keep people 100% working from home, because that will have other social impacts, right? And as I said, when I was
Yeah.
saying, as US statistics show, 37% of the people fear that working from home continuously will give them less access to the leadership.
Yeah.
And everybody wants access to their leadership. So this is something that,
So these HR issues need to be settled. Yes.
so that is again a role of HR to basically bring that aspect of it while we bring the technology.
Yeah. Correct. And also, Klehan, I think one important fact is about this climate change. See, this digitalization should support, help, and sustain this climate change initiatives really, because now the whole world is moving towards curbing climate change, and one of the biggest aspects which we can help in preventing climate change drastically is commuting. Stop commuting, using paper, and using for electricity more. So the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goal agendas, I think the digitization will help a lot. Recently the Glasgow rounds of talks have completed, and they have put out a white paper. So there are a lot of things that we have to look into. And also at the same time, I would like to ask a very pertinent question from you about the Sri Lankan scenario, whereas our economy is mostly based on agriculture so far, plus there is a certain amount of industrialization as far as the manual labor is concerned, where the manual labor comes into play. Now, you as a professional is in ICT, and that is white collar jobs really, and knowledge-based industry. But how about digitalization and how it helps agriculture-based industry where manual labor is required, and also probably maybe, yes, we can do a lot of automation through AI, machine learning, and IoT and all that. Can you just give us something in a nutshell, briefly, about how it helps the agriculture industry, and also
a good question.
helps the manufacturing?
Yeah, a good question,
Yeah,
because Google has lots of tools for this. Let's start off with Google Maps, a very simple thing. Now, Google Maps is something that everybody knows about Google Maps, and actually the world's third largest search engine in the world is basically, if I ask you what is the largest search engine in the world, it's Google search. Second largest search engine in the world, if I ask you, it is YouTube. The third largest search engine in the world is basically Google Maps. Because everybody, whether you like it or not, use Google Maps. And what you use Google Maps is to find a location. How do I get from A to B, or how do I find somebody's address? Today, when you invite somebody to your residence, that person will say, can you send me your location? Right?
yeah.
So that is one of the things that we use Google Maps for. But Google Maps has gone beyond that, especially in the agriculture sector. You basically you can map your entire agriculture network. You can overlay that on Google Maps, including soil, including so many things, and the farmers can basically upload the ability to upload their crops and the growth of their crops and all those stuff, and you can then identify where are you getting crops, where are you not getting crops, what is the yield that is going to come in the next 3 months, how do you manage that yield. Now, if we had implemented those systems here a couple of years ago, I remember that there was a lot of Vatakka thrown all over the place because the farmers didn't have a mechanism to sell that, and there was excess. Then what happens is nobody is ready with that, what to do with the excess, because the maximum number of days is 3-4 days you can keep it. But if they knew that we are getting excess, they could have planned and said, okay, we'll make jam out of it, or we'll make something out of it, right? So this is where you can plan using Google Maps. Then when it comes to manufacture, these just a little glimpse, but I can give you details.
And also, I think it can help crop planning.
Crop planning, then also delivery in the manufacturing environment, delivery, route planning, right? When a lorry is going, is the lorry properly packed? Are you making the maximum utilization of it?
How does
Sorry, Dhammik, I missed out on that.
remote work like. So, yeah. How does it help now we are talking about hybrid work. How does it help the agriculture industry to do hybrid work?
Yeah, so it's any hybrid, no? Because Buttermans is now the decision making will happen in a central location, whereas the hybrid really comes in the farmer needs to give the farmer at the farmer level, the agriculture officer level, you need to upload the data, right? Because we can't depend on satellite imageries because that's very costly. But there is, as you said, there is a lot of manual labor that is available, and we can use that manual labor. But that manual labor needs to upload this data. It can be used in farmer insurance, it can be used in distribution, it can be used in the manufacturing process, it can be used in the different economic sectors can be using this data. And all this can be used using Google Maps.
Correct.
I can take a
I know
separate
that.
session and we can talk about
Correct.
it. If you have agriculture sector, I can talk about it. I can show you the applications that can be used. So that's a vast area which we are not capitalizing on.
Yeah, then the other sector, I know that, say, for example, AI can help and IoT can help with devices where,
Correct.
as far as the rainfall and weather concerns, and
In
how do you
manufacturing,
do crop
in
planning.
manufacturing,
Yes.
IoT can help a lot.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
Identifying
let us move
breakdowns,
on to
identifying the breakdowns of the machines, servicing. Lots of things can be done with this one.
Yeah, there are a few more questions came in, and Microsoft allows Sri Lanka non-profit sector directly to get Office 365 without any local dealers support and zero cost investment. But still, Google strict to maybe stick to the Sri Lankans. What is the reason? I don't know. I'm not very clear, but what it says is probably what Office Microsoft provides its same product or the similar product provided by Google is charged. Is it it is the question, I suppose.
Google for individual users.
It says
Google for
non-profit sector.
Yeah, so the Google for individual sectors are free. Google Education is free. So
Right.
education sector is free.
How do you calculate the time frame for an organization that wants to adopt the features you've mentioned today?
It again
Depends,
depends.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think Asanka, the good question, Asanka. It depends on two factors. It depends on the leadership of
Correct.
the organization. Because if the organization, the leadership is firm and leadership is committed to it, it happens faster. If the leadership is not committed to it and they expect the managers to do it, it happens slower. So we have organizations that have adapted this in 3 months. We have organizations that have taken 1 year, right? But it takes a time. It's not magic. It won't happen overnight. But as long as you have the leadership of the organization, because you need two hands to clap, we can bring the technology, but it depends on the leadership of the organization. But if the leadership is committed, yes, you can do it in less than 3 months for a small organization. Big organization, you might need about a year to do this.
Yeah, and also it depends on the potential work models, right? Recently in May 2021, this year, May, BCG has put out a small research paper with regard to this. It divided potential work models into 3, like fully on-site, potentially remote, partially remote, and primarily remote. So depends on whatever the model that you require, you choose, right? Isn't it, Klehan?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, but if you properly manage it, it can be done in a short time.
Yeah. So there's another question. Microsoft allows Sri Lanka. Oh, it's same question.
Yeah, same.
Is there an alternative for MS Teams? Yeah, there is the Google Meet.
Actually, Google has we have it. You have this Google Sites, Rooms and Chat, and Currents put together. Basically, gives you the alternative for Teams. But I won't want to compare alternatives. I'm talking of the technologies because it depends on what you want to use it for. We have different technologies that can be adapted.
And plus Google Meet as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Google Meet is also part of the suite. So it all depends on what you want to do. It's all
Right.
integrated into one platform, but you can use it in isolation.
But the widely used platform right now for video conferencing is Zoom.
Is Zoom. Yeah, that I have to admit.
So how you all can help the Sri Lankan agriculture since you all are Google partner? I think this we have discussed, so we don't need to
Correct.
dwell upon it. Right. I think it's time up already. So Klehan, would like to hand over. If you don't have anything to share, I would like to hand over the proceedings to Ken Vijay Kumar.
Okay, we have come to the conclusion of the very interesting session of hybrid working environment and what are the tools available. I think Klehan has given many tools and with examples. I think so. We have come to the interesting presentation, and I think there were questions were answered. I think I would like to thank both Klehan, I think for his time today to spend with us for 1.5 hours, and I think Klehan gave out very good examples and some practical example as well. Also, I would like to thank Dhammika, Fernando, moderator. I think we also elaborated many tools, how it could be used for what other industries rather or IT or moving on to agriculture, etc. So I thank Fernando. Thank you so much for your time spent with us today. And finally, I would like to thank the Kandy chapter chairman, Mr. Dhammika Koppekadu. He was instrumental in organizing this workshop today, the webinar, and also my sincere appreciation to Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, chairman of the Membership Development Committee, council member, Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, and also the Klehan's office staff. I think were involved, in organizing this, and the logistics support. Also, CIPM IT staff, Mr. Sivasuriya and Ganishka, and all others who are involved. Also, Udani, CIPM marketing assistant manager. So, thank you all. I think it was. We are concluding an interesting presentation and webinar. So, we'll hope to see you at the future CIPM events. So thank you so much and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.